Hey guys, welcome back to the story of a poor dead boy and his poor dead dog and their obnoxious dead sidekick. Let's see what we can do about that dead sidekick thing. So we've got our Sissel and Missile on our team now. I've left Missile sitting in the seesaw. We actually have to get him out of there so that Sissel can get over to the right side of the playground. Gets a little complicated switching back and forth all these times, but okay. You get the hang of it pretty quickly. Let's move over here. Our goal is to get over to this jungle gym. It's the first sort of step in saving this guy, as obnoxious as it is. We have to wait for him to get into the gym and wait for it to start spinning around. We'll get a clue from Sissel. Ooh, here you come already. I swore to myself not to repeat my mistakes. Mistakes? When somebody's in trouble, you should lend them a hand. Otherwise, you'll definitely regret it. And now the recklessness of youth has taken over, giving me lightning fast speed. I've been thinking. If we could stop this man from running, maybe he wouldn't get squished. It wouldn't be easy to stop me once the recklessness of youth was taken over. He says it a lot. It's not really all that helpful to the scenario. And in fact, despite this recklessness, he sure does take a sweet time getting over there. Anyway, once he's got the jungle gym spinning, we can actually use this basketball to get into the center, make it spin faster. This, oddly enough, is sort of a requisite for solving this puzzle. As it turns out, even if you do the, like a lot of these puzzles, even if you do the requisite steps in frame-perfect time, if you don't somehow stop them from moving, the game automatically just moves on and forces you to restart. This is one such scenario. So what we have to do is move this umbrella down onto the tree branch, and then we'll have to find something to use to jog the branch itself. So let's move to Missile, and now we get to use his power to swap. First thing we can do is swap this tire with this basketball, and then I'm sorry, the tire with the baseball, and now the tire with the basketball. So let's leave that. Actually, let's make this a little bit easier on ourselves. I think it helps to have the basketball over here on the seesaw and the tire on the left. Let's set that up. Sorry about this. Just trying to make sure I don't have to minimize the number of times I actually have to restart. That should be correct. The most important thing is the basketball has to be on the seesaw when the guy finally regains his balance and jumps onto it. And then we have to, I'm sorry, almost forgot. As Sissel, we have to open the umbrella. That's also important. And then the basketball jumps into the umbrella when he jumps into the seesaw. Now we have about a minute to go. And the only remaining thing to do is to swap the tire with the basketball, which jogs the branch enough to knock the football out of it. And we'll do this right before the time of death. 3, 2... Remember, we have to get the football knocked off basically within a split second of his actual time of death. Or I guess we don't really need to do that at all. I forgot. I guess it stops right there. There, we moved the ball. What do you think, Missile? Yeah, it looks close enough. With the ball there, I think I can do it. In just a few seconds, you'll swap Mino with the leaf, and then from there you can swap Mino one more time. The final moment is near, Missile. Are you ready? You bet! And Missile will actually stop this for us, I believe. So that's the first swap, the one from Missile saving Kamala the first time. And now he'll stop the game for us. Okay, watch me, Sissel. Here I go. The finishing touches. You can do it, Missile. Swap Mino with the ball. We don't really need to be told what to do, but you know, it never hurts, I guess. Let's, one more swap, and that should do it. Crushes the little can, knocks the guy out with the football. He deserved it. He kind of has a leaf on top of his head. I wonder if we could swap the his top knot with Mino. There, how's that? My head has been spared. Truly, that was a try worthy of the gods, and now Mino is right where he belongs. We did it again, didn't we? Didn't we? Mino doesn't really belong there. He kind of belongs up on top of the stand. Now, nobody has to die, except for one brave little somebody. Huh? I'm talking about you, Missile. Oh, me? I guess you're right. I'm still dead, aren't I? So now let's go back and save your life. Wait a minute. What is it? Now that I think about it, I think I want to stay dead a little longer. What? When I was alive, I couldn't even help Miss Kamala when she was in trouble. I want to be able to protect Miss Kamala, and to do that, I need these powers I have now. I see. Perfectly understandable. Even I wish I had powers like that. Hey, we just saved you. Don't wash your life away already. Oh, of course, you're right. Hey, okay, Miss, I'll have it your way. By the way, Mr. Reckless Youth, there's a certain detective who needs that music box you found. When we get back to the present time, could you give it to her? Certainly, you have my word. Let's go back then, to the present. We did pretty well, all things considered. This is that leaf. And so Kamala ended up in the hands of the kidnappers. We weren't able to change that part. Lynn listened to my story without saying anything. I'm sorry, I wish there was something else I could have done. No, you did the best you could. I'm sure she's alright. After all, she has me. Oh. That's right, he's still in the leaf after we did that last exchange. Missel, are you in there? Miss Lynn, leave Miss Kamala to me. I know I don't look like much right now, but I'm sure I can help her. Missel. Uh-oh. Can't even help himself right now. I guess he could ghost trick out of there if he really wanted to. Miss Lynn! But no, he's just gonna let himself be carried away. The game does a pretty good job of removing Missile from our party in between puzzles. I'm gonna leave it up to Missile. It kind of looks like Missile's being left up to the wind. Ha 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 ha. Oh boy. I have something to give you. Words fail to describe this guy. Stop the park from being... Thanks for sticking with the program, Twitchy. Aren't you forgetting your promise? Oh, pardon me, pardon me. There we go. My apologies. This is for you. Oh. MacGuffin acquired. Wow, that's some pocket she's got there. You kept the music box safe, didn't you? Thank you. It's the pocket she keeps her chicken in between meals. Not at all. I was only doing what the Rock of the Gods would have wanted. Is he spacing out there for a second? What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? He's mesmerized by my beauty. It's a long pause, Sissel. Hey, the cat's not allowed to get your tongue. I wonder if he's stroking off there from that head injury from the football. It'd be pretty funny if he died from that. Excuse me, but are you... No, it couldn't be. Have we met before? Aren't you that little girl from that time? I'll never forget it. It was 10 years ago in this park. 10 years ago? Basically, the only reason this guy exists in this plot is to be a witness to this moment. Are you talking about... I guess we have to talk to him. They could just tell us, but no, we actually have to prove that we want to talk to this guy. Here in this park, the gods surely control fate. Today, 10 years from that day, we meet once again. If that isn't the power of the gods, then what else is it? It could just be coincidence. But apparently you know our lady detective here. Could you tell us about it? About what happened 10 years ago? Yes, of course, I was actually about to just do that. Not until we started, until we made you do it. What's this Rock of the Gods you keep mentioning? Don't you know? It's right there in front of us. There's the stand it's supposed to be on. Aww. Missile. I'll take care of him. Missile. This is that crater we saw earlier. Wait a minute, you say gods, but do you mean dogs? Of course not, don't be silly. This is no time for ridiculous word games. Thanks. You are standing just above the Rock of the Gods now. Take a good look at that monument. Monument? I wonder if that's that glowy thing we saw on the ground before. Rock of the Gods, Temsic Park. The Rock of the Gods? Check that out. The rock is buried in the ground right there. It's been there these 10 years. Ever since that day it flew down from the heavens and showed us a miracle. A miracle? Flashback time? Maybe not yet. So this rock you've been talking about is a meteorite? Precisely. It dropped from the sky on that day 10 years ago. Yes, of course. Surely you know all about it. Me? Let's find out. That day I just happened to be passing through this park. I had no idea that day would change my destiny. The sun was going down and through the gloom, I heard the scream of a little girl. Eek. Now just calm down. Oh, this is awfully familiar. So I mean, this is pretty obvious from the way they were setting up the scene, but he was in fact a witness to Jowd's encounter with Lynn and the kidnapper. I didn't see the face of the criminal clearly. I knew I should do something to help, but I couldn't move. The tension was so thick it was painful. Just when I couldn't stand it any longer, that's when it happened. The sky suddenly burned bluish white. Merge with Final Fantasy VII, apparently. When it crashed into the ground, the meteorite gave out off a shower of beautiful fragments. And then I saw it. One of those beautiful fragments pierced into the criminal's back. So that huge gunshot that I thought was Jowd popping off a hand cannon was actually the meteor crashing down on the planet. The judgment of the gods was brought down in the park that day. "10 years ago, the little girl that was you was saved by the Rock of the Gods. Oh my, I can't believe it. The Rock of the Gods was given the name Temsic, and still today, it lies sleeping deep in the park's earth." And we've got another topic, Temsic. I never knew about this Temsic. I always thought Detective Jowd was the one who saved me. You were very young then, and you passed out from the shock of being taken hostage. Of course you wouldn't remember. But that's funny. A huge incident like that should have caused quite a stir. It's strange you never heard of it, Lynn. It is, isn't it? But now that I think about it, I remember I didn't want to think about what happened. I avoided the news, and I never came back to this park again. That's why I didn't know anything about it. The meteorite was named Temsic after the name of the park that it fell in, and then the Rock of the Gods was forgotten. Now an awful thing is happening. They're talking about turning the park into a housing site. I'll never forget the miracle I witnessed that day, and so I've taken up residence in this park and I'm trying to appeal to the people. Protect the park, the Rock of the Gods. That is my mission. I see. It's awfully noble. It also means he isn't as young as he says he is, most likely, if he's been living here 10 years on his own. Poor Missile. He already looks a little stiff. So 10 years ago, the little girl that was Lynn wasn't aware of the meteorite. I get that, but Detective Jowd, on the other hand, there was no way he didn't know about this Temsic thing, and if he knew, and the man died and took his life, what was that confession of his all about? The Rock of the God that fell from the sky 10 years ago changed the destinies of many people's lives, like the ripples on a pond when a pebble is dropped in. With every answer I get, I learn about a new mystery. Will I be able to break the chain of mysteries before dawn? We've got about 4 hours to go, I think. Anyway, now that we have the evidence we need, we decided to meet up again at the Minister's office. Besides, there are a few things I want to ask Detective Jowd. We'll see if we can get through this. I got about 4 minutes left in this video. Should be enough. Hello? We found the music box, Detective Jowd. Good job, Lynn. I knew you would. Once everything had been resolved, I had wanted you to give this to him. Him? You mean Inspector Cabanela, right? I don't suppose he'll ever forgive me. Jowd. Now then, let's get this thing open. There's a certain knack to doing it, you know? Which is apparently just trying really, really hard. See? Jowd's a pretty big guy. He calls that a knack? Yeah. I mean, we weren't strong enough with our ghost tricks to open it. And there's the pistol. Here you are. Of course it'll have his fingerprints on it. You should find scorch marks on the grip. Scorch marks? When Kamala built her contraption, she used a special kind of string. It's a kind of magicians use. It burns up in an instant and disappears. Why would little Kamala use something like that? I don't know, maybe because she's a detective's daughter. Not leaving any evidence behind and all that, haha. In the case report there was mention of some scorch marks. Flashback to chapter 11. Yeah, we saw those scorched wires in chapter 3 too, or 4. When it happened, Kamala was watching from her hiding place. She saw the flame run to the gun, something she naturally didn't include in her design. I took the gun out of the frame and replaced it with a picture. If you remove the picture, you should find scorch marks behind it on the frame, too. And those marks should match up with the ones in the gun. In other words, it proves the contraption existed there in that room that day. And it didn't work the way your little girl intended, is that right? Exactly. Some cowardly culprit modified the design. But that angle was never brought up in court, and so as Justice Minister, I must call off the execution at this point. I knew I was right. It wasn't Detective Jowd. Now we can finally prove that. Thank goodness. Thank you, Lynn. In those eyes of yours, I see the eyes of that little girl from 10 years ago. And now, we have some dialogue with Detective Jowd to finish off chapter 14. I should briefly mention that the case of Detective Jowd's wife is basically the reason why they had to establish a 1-day limit on how long people could be dead before we can bring them back to life with ghost tricks. Because obviously we stopped the murder machine, the same one that killed Alma, from killing Lynn in chapter 3. Therefore, we could just dig up her corpse, go back 4 minutes before death, and stop her the same way we did then, which would also probably bring us into contact with this manipulator we keep hearing about. But so they established rules so that we couldn't do that. Now we've got to find some new leads, say hi to Detective Jowd, and see what he has to say about the matter. Maybe he's got some more information for us. And we'll do that tomorrow in the next episode of Let's Play Ghost Trick. See you then.